everyone. Welcome to Youth's Focus, Oakland's Future. On this program, we ask the tough questions.
Our special guest is the police chief of the Oakland Unified School District, Chief James Williams.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Demario Williams. I'm a Fremont graduate, class of '06, and I'm a member of Youth Uprising.
And I'm Stephanie Vega. I'm a freshman at Castlemont High School and also a member of Youth Alive. Chief Williams, we're going to begin with a news story that shook us all. The shooting and killing of more than 25 students, teachers, and principal at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut. What's the plan to protect us in Oakland schools?
Sure. I think that story shook all of us. It shook me as a parent, as a member of a community, and as a police chief. Here in Oakland, we're very fortunate. We're only one of three school police departments in all of Northern California. So, unfortunately, those things happen, but we had been training for those type of incidents to possibly occur. Our police officers, they go through training for active shooter type situations. I have a member on my staff who's also an active shooter instructor. And we've also done training with other agencies here from Northern California. And we're currently doing them with Oakland Police Department on active shooter type situations. So from a law enforcement perspective, if that did happen, we are prepared to respond. But at school, it all starts at the school. It starts with the safety plans. I don't know if you guys are aware, but every year principals have to complete a safety plan for their school, and that safety plan includes things for evacuations if there's earthquakes. It also includes things to do if there's an intruder on campus, which most of you may know as a lockdown drill. And unfortunately, here in Oakland, we're well versed on lockdown drills, on how to do them. Both, you guys as students, as teachers, how to implement them, and as us as police officers, how to respond to them. So, the first thing we do is we have the safety plans in place here that assist us with if there was an intruder on campus. I've also, after this event happened, I also went and over a 3-day process, I spoke to all of the principals at every school. We talked about issues at the particular schools. I also offered my assistants and my staff's assistants to go out to every school, and we can talk about specific safety plans or safety issues at your school. So that's still out there. We've gone to a few schools. We're willing to go to more. I've also talked with the people who do our buildings and grounds about ideas about locks, about gates, about entry systems at schools. And then I've also gone out and I've talked to PTA. I've talked to your parents and other adults about those type of issues. And like I said, we have a leg up here in Oakland because we're prepared to do something if something happens. So I feel confident.
Thank you, Chief Williams. Our next question comes from a panelist, Aaliyah.
Hello, Chief. My name's Aaliyah. I'm a homeschool student and I'm 18 years old. I'm here with Oakland Youth Commission. How many school police are there, and do you feel that that's an adequate number for the district to keep schools and students safe?
Sure, good question. Currently, I'm allocated 12 police officers, 4 sergeants, and 1 chief. So that makes the department 17 members. I don't have all my positions filled, so right now I have 9 officers, and I have 1 sergeant, and I have myself out there. So we're kind of spread thin. I wish I had more officers. I would like to have more officers. And since I don't, I have to do other things like ask parents to do parent patrols, work with other community members on issues around the school, especially on the weekends, asking neighbors to call in if there's issues. It's things like that. I wish I did have more officers. There's after-school programs. There's programs on the weekends at schools that we can't cover because we don't have adequate staff. So I wish we did have more officers.
So you don't think it's enough to keep schools safe?
No, it's not. I wish I had more.
Thank you. For the next question, we go to Victor.
Hello, Chief Williams. My name is Victor Mercado. I am from Oakland Technical High School. I am 18 years old and I am a senior, and I'm part of MEA, Media Enterprise Alliance here at KDOL. So my question is, since the shooting in a Connecticut elementary school, there's a talk of having teachers keep guns at school. Do you think this will ever happen in Oakland?
I heard that same question in the media being raised, and the next day I was actually meeting with other teachers, and so I asked them the question, you know, as a teacher, how would you feel, you know, having a gun or being armed at school? And all of them said they would be uncomfortable with it. Majority of them said they don't even know how to handle a weapon or how to handle a gun. They're there to educate. They're not there to, you know, be carrying a weapon. I had further conversations with the superintendent, you know, Dr. Smith. He doesn't feel that we should have armed teachers, and nor do I feel that we should have armed teachers at school. Teachers are there to provide educations. They're not there to carry guns.
Chief Williams, our next panelist is ready for another question. Amelia.
Hi, my name is Amalia Gonzalez. I'm a freshman at Casamont High School, and I'm with Youth Alive. My question is, we've heard stories and also witnessed when school police officers or security do not respond when students are in danger close to school, like across the street. Why is that? What's the policy, and what are we as students supposed to do?
So if there were instances where the sworn police officers observed something or someone saw them observing something they should have acted on, I would like to hear more about that, you know, maybe at another time or later in the future if I could be told about that, because I will address that. They should have acted. If it was involving the school security officers, which are the non-sworn officers, when I first came to the district, I was wondering what their authority was, because I was meeting with parents at Fremont, and the parents at Fremont were concerned about some of the issues that were going on just outside the campus, you know, in the neighborhood, and they wanted to know, could the school security officers go off campus and go into the neighborhood and handle some of those issues? So I talked to the legal department with the Oakland Unified School District, and the answer I was given was school security officers can only stay on the campus and adjacent to the campus. So they can't go across the street, and it's for liability reasons. They can only patrol the campus and the immediate adjacent area of the campus. But I would tell you, if you don't feel, if you're in a dangerous situation just across the street from the school, go back to the school, tell the school staff, tell the administration, go to the office. If you have a cell phone, you know, call the police department. We're on the same radio frequency as the Oakland Police Department, so if my officers hear it's something near the school, they would also respond. But if you feel like you're in danger, most definitely go back to the school or go into a store and ask the owner of the store to call the police department. But I would like to know if there are personal observations of police officers that didn't respond when they should have. I would like to hear about that further.
Thank you, Chief. Here's our next panelist.
Hello. My name is Nyla Kelly, as you know. I'm a junior at Coliseum College Prep Academy. I'm 17, and I'm with Black Organizing Project. And the question is that I have for you is, please explain the difference between school police and OPD. And also, we understand that the city of Oakland has gotten $10 million from the federal government to put city police in Oakland schools. What is the role of those police officers in the schools, and is any oversight assessed or effectiveness of the city police officers in the schools?
Sure. You know, police officers we're very similar in some ways to the Oakland Police Department. Our officers go through police academies just like any other police officer in the state does. Our department is regulated through POST, which is Peace Officer Standard and Training. They're the regulatory agency for the state of California. So they mandate training for all officers in the state. Our officers, like I said, they receive a lot of that same training, and they go through the same hiring process, virtually almost the same hiring process to be police officers. I think the biggest difference is Oakland Unified School Police are a specialized agency where our focus is at school, where in the city, their focus is the entire city. They're the municipality. They respond to everything. Chief Jordan, I think, is doing an excellent job with the resources he has available to him to respond to everything that's going on in this city. Things that are going on at schools, that's our responsibility, and we can respond to those calls. Our officers can spend a little more time on the issue. They could get to know the situation a little bit more than an OPD officer who's working very hard out there, but he's overwhelmed. So he's going to come talk to you, and he's got to go to the next call, where I think our officers have a little more time to work with you. They know the philosophy here at Oakland Unified School District. They know what the mission of the school district is, and they can help find other support within the district that regular Oakland police officers may not be aware of or know about. So I think we have a little more time to be a little more personal with issues at school. And as far as the COPS grant, I think you guys met Lieutenant Armstrong. He runs the COPS grant for the Oakland Police Department. He and I talk occasionally, and we talk about the grant themselves. I don't oversee it. It's oversawn by the Oakland Police Department. So they supervise the officers. You know, they have 3 officers on campus, 2 patrol the campus. 1 provides as a mentor on campus. And as far as assessing the effectiveness of that, you know, it's the first year, and so my talks with Lieutenant Armstrong are ways to find how we can, you know, gauge the effectiveness of that. In fact, we're having a meeting on March 1st to talk about some of the chronic absenteeism and how we're judging that, you know, with them being in the schools. So it's still in its infancy, so we are still finding ways to gauge the effectiveness.
Our next panelist has interesting survey results.
My name is Sean Stiff. I go to Frick Middle School. I'm 14, and I'm with the organization Spark. Chief Williams, a couple months ago, I did a survey to my fellow students at Frick. I asked them questions, and here's what I found out. I asked them if they trusted the police, and most of them said no. Most 70% of them said no. I asked if something happened, would they go to the police or take care of it themselves? Most students said they will go to the police and not keep it to themselves. My question is to you is how do you react to these results, and how do you you know?
Sean, I'm a little disheartened by those results. You know, I'm hoping people in the community see us as someone who could help them, someone who's there to assist them, especially at school. We're there to make sure that you guys have an environment to get a quality education, and you know that's our main role at school. So some of the ways that my department is trying to work on those issues of trust, I think it's an issue of trust with police in the community, is during the summer we run a camp in West Oakland, and it's available for kids between the ages of 6 and 12. And we take all kids from Oakland, and it's free. We no charge. They get free breakfast. They get free lunch. And they interact with police officers. We have police officers that volunteer, and I have other volunteers that also come to the camp. But they get to see police officers as human beings, as just someone else in the community, as someone they're playing basketball with. So I'm hoping those types of things knock down some of those barriers, you know, because we're human just like everyone else, but, you know, we're wearing a uniform. And I think we're here to help you, and we're here to assist you. So I'm doing those things, and you know, we're always looking for volunteers. So if you guys ever wanted to volunteer during the summer for Camp Trust, you know, you're more than welcome to come out. But like I said, that's unfortunate, and I'm looking for ways to knock down those barriers, and hopefully this is one of them also, you know, coming here tonight. We participate in other things like PTA meetings, community meetings, but I know those are with adults mainly. But we're working at those, and you know, suggestions you guys may have of ways we could come together would help. You know, I've thought of ideas of having school safety teams at schools, and where we could hold regular meetings and talk about issues, and you could see the police officers are just like you. You know, we were kids once too.
Chief, our next question is from Anthony.
Hey, how are you? Hey, my name's Anthony McMath. I go to Hercules High School, and I'm in the 10th grade, and I'm a part of the Oakland Youth Commission. My question to you is, as school police, you talk to youth, from little kids to teenagers. What kind of training do officers get to help them relate to students of all ages?
Sure. So being a police officer, like I said earlier, we go through the same type of training as other police officers throughout this entire state. However, to be a campus police officer, you have to attend a class. It's a week-long class. And it's called Campus Law Enforcement. And one of the subjects in that class is talking to, relating, and dealing with psychology of adolescents. And through that class, they give you different tools on approaching kids or talking with kids. There's also a program called the GREAT program, which deals with gangs in middle schools, which some of our officers have also gone through. That program also provides tools and ways of talking to kids. But I think the biggest thing the officers do and the biggest type of training they get is on a day-to-day basis. It's interacting with youth, it's talking to kids, it's just being out there, you know, and you're getting kind of on-the-job training. Not only are you guys learning, but we're learning too. You know, we're learning the new phrases, the new lingo, you know, the new music that's out there that kids are listening to, you know, so it helps us better relate when we have conversations and deal with issues.
Thank you, Chief. Here's our next panelist.
Hi, my name is Armika Eifert. I go to Castlemont. I'm a junior, and I'm here with Youth Alive. My question is, how are school police officers recruited and trained, and are any of your officers from Oakland and or are graduates of Oakland Unified School District high schools?
Sure. So, like I spoke before, the officers receive training that's state approved and state mandated, which is a basic police academy. And the academy time varies. It's usually around 6 months in length that they go through training. And as far as recruiting, I believe, you know, in my department, that officers should kind of reflect the community or come from the community. And we're a specialized department, so we work with kids. So I think when I recruit people, I look for people that come from similar communities, come from similar situations, and that want to work with kids, that have a vested interest in a kid's well-being, have a vested interest in making sure kids succeed, want to take the time to deal with juveniles, because in a law enforcement world, dealing with juveniles isn't the best assignment you can get. And so I want to make sure that people want to be in that assignment. And as far as officers that have attended OUSD schools, or I have 2 officers that have gone through the OUSD school system. I have officers that live here in Oakland also. I live here in Oakland, and my child's at OUSD high school. And so not only do I get it from the district side or the law enforcement side about what's going on, but I hear it from a student every night, what's going on at school. So, you know, I believe that a lot of the officers should come from similar communities or the community, because they can relate to what you guys are going through, or, you know, because they've been there or they've lived that, so.
Chief Williams,
Yes.
we're now going to take a question from another panelist.
Hi, my name's Alicia Henderson. I go to Oakland High. I'm 16 and I'm a sophomore, and my organization is KDOL. And 2 years ago, a young man was shot and killed by school police outside the Skyline. Has your policy for when officers fire their weapons changed? And what kind of training have all your officers had since the shooting? So what are called a case of police brutality? Does it happen again?
Thank you for asking that question, Aisha. I mean, a lot of people, that's on their minds. I wasn't the police chief when that incident occurred. I came about 9 months after. That incident is still in litigation, so I can't speak to all the details of it. But I can tell you that there were 3 independent investigations conducted. The officer was found cleared in all those investigations. He was found to be within departmental policy, within the law. As far as our policy goes, I can tell you that the OUSD police policy is consistent with other law enforcement agencies throughout not only this region but the state. Our policy follows what the state law says, that you can use lethal force if it's in defense of your life or in defense of someone else's life. So those policies, like I said, are pretty consistent with other departments and also consistent with the law, and they're very strict. They're very stringent of when you can use some type of lethal force. Additional training that our officers have gone through, they've gone through. There's a state training that every 2 years the state mandates officers attend training, and in that training they receive training on firearms, on the law. In addition to that, at our department, we also do training on what our policies are, so that my officers are very clear on what the policy is, on when they can use lethal force. So it's constant ongoing training that we do. That was a very unfortunate situation that occurred, but like I said, we have to make sure we do things within policy and within our state and federal law, and we had outside agencies look at that situation, and they all felt it was within what was within the law.
As I mentioned, I'm a student at Castlemont High School, and there was like a big fight in school. Officers were there, but none of them really stopped the fight, and there were pretty about like 3 or 4 officers, and they mostly just told people to go to class while there was like a fight going on. So basically, people wouldn't want to go to class. Can you please explain why they didn't, and what's the policy for something like that?
Sure. So my understanding of that particular incident was there was over 100 people, 100 students involved in a fight. I only had 2 or 3 officers that were actually on the scene at that time. So at that time, they did what they could as far as getting people back to class, breaking up whatever type of fights that were around them that they could break up. While that was occurring, they were calling for additional help. And luckily for us, the Oakland Police Department is there whenever we need their assistance. So we were waiting for their arrival. I don't want the officers to rush into a scene where there's 100 people fighting, because once they go into a crowd, they're putting their own safety at risk, and they're also putting the student safety at risk, because if an officer is overpowered, their weapon can be taken away. And that weapon could be a firearm, it could be their OC, which is like pepper spray, and I would, God forbid that would happen, and a firearm is used against other students that was taken away from a police officer. So the rationale in that situation is they do the best they can until other forces arrive with additional people. And so once we had adequate staff on scene, adequate officers, they were able to go in and break up those fights without any injury to themselves, without putting anyone else at risk. So that's the policy and that's what happened during that incident.
Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce another panelist.
Hello, my name is Lynn Christina Melchor. I go to Skyline High School. I'm 18 and I'm in the 12th grade, and the organization I'm with is All City Council. My question for you today is, I heard earlier you said you have a son in the OUSD district. Well, like your son, I've been in the OUSD district from kinder all the way to 12th grade. So this is my last year, luckily. And I'm sure that you've heard about the crimes that happen in the elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. Well, being a student that's been through the process, I've also heard about it, and I've been a witness, or I've been a victim. So what do you think is the most common crime?
At the different schools?
Yeah.
Okay. So, when we talk about elementary schools, unfortunately, the most reported crime we have is some type of abuse. It could be physical abuse, it could be sexual abuse, and that happens when a kid might show up into school and they have a bruise, or they say something to a teacher, and teachers are mandated reporters, which means if they suspect some type of abuse occurred or something is occurring, they're mandated by law that they have to call law enforcement. So we respond to those calls. Fortunately, majority of those calls that we respond to are false. The kid actually did fall down, at home, or, the kid was disciplined by the parent and it led to no marks. The kid just said, I got a spanking at home. And, a lot of the ones they perceive that might be, type of sexual abuse aren't true. So we're happy that those things aren't true, but we're obligated to go out and investigate them. So that's the majority of things we happen at elementary school. That's the most common complaint. And for middle schools and high schools, it's kind of the same thing. It's assaults, which are results from fights, and it's theft. Kids in high school, they put things in their lockers for gym class, or they have things just in their normal lockers. Lockers are getting broken into because kids are putting their phones in there, their smartphones, the iPhones in their lockers, and they go off to gym class, they come back, it's been stolen. So thefts are one of our major things in high schools and middle schools, and then like I said, the other things are fights. Kids get into fights and someone is injured. At times, the school might not even call the police department, but a parent might call and say, my kid was in a fight, I want something done. So we go out there and we investigate it. So those are the major things we have happen at middle schools and high schools.
Next question comes from Tony.
What's going on? So, my name's Tony. I'm with Youth Uprising. I'm 20. What is the process if an officer is called to a school and report and a report is filed on the student? What will happen to the student? And if the alleged crime turns out to be false, what happens to the file? Is it thrown out or is it kept?
Well, Tony, there's a lot of variables in there. If we go to a school and we're called there for some type of issue, we try to handle things as least law enforcement related as possible. So if it's something that the school administration can take care of, we'll refer that situation to the school administrator to handle. We don't handle discipline at schools. That's the administrator's job. So if, like I said, not knowing all the types of things that might be in your head, you're thinking of reports, I could just go through them. So, that's one of them. If something's not very major, we let the school handle it. If it's something that's a crime, we take a report, we'll take a crime report, and of course we work with the victim to see if they want prosecution. We try and locate witnesses. We try and locate the suspect. We do a thorough investigation as much as we can at the time. And that report is sent over to the Oakland Police Department. They do any further investigatory work that might need to be done, and that file goes with them, with the Oakland Police Department. So if they develop further information where they're going to charge the case, then it goes to the district attorney's office, and it goes through the court system. So that file or that report is always going to be at the Oakland Police Department. So if the person was found innocent, then there's still a report that something happened. It's still on file. It's at the Oakland Police Department. But like I said, if it's a minor incident and we don't need to take a report, we refer to the school.
Thank you, Chief. Here's another panelist.
Hello, Chief Williams. My name is Carmen Jimenez. I'm a sophomore at Fremont High School, and I'm with All City Council. And my question is, do you have a strategy for bullying? And if not, how do you address it in school?
Sure. Well, Carmen, I'm not involved in the bullying issues at schools a lot because we don't get involved unless they become criminal, because we're the police department. Unless someone is beat up, we don't hear about the bullying until then. So I don't have a lot of work in the bullying aspect at schools, but I can tell you OUSD is very progressive in dealing with bullying. This last summer, Superintendent Dr. Smith, he was at a conference and there was a discussion on bullying, and he decided at that time that he was going to step up. He was going to take on bullying at OUSD. He wanted to deal with bullying. So one of the things he did was he brought the movie Bully here to OUSD, and I think a lot of you guys saw that. A lot of the schools did. It was over a 3-week period that the middle schools and the high schools went and witnessed that movie. Besides that, back in July of 2012, the California State Legislature enacted a law, and I believe it's called SES law, where school districts have to come up with some type of protocol to document bullying, to deal with bullying at schools, and to provide some kind of training for their staff. So Like I said, OUSD has been very progressive in that. They've provided training to their principals. They provided training to other staff. Just recently, they are partnering with other outside organizations that have grants. So I know they're going to be doing some bullying work at Oakland Tech and at Oakland High School. And you know, some of the things they're doing with bullying is restorative justice. You know, that they're working with those people that are bullying to find alternative answers to the bullying. You know, is there reasons why they're bullying? Do they need some other type of resources in their lives? You know, they won't feel they have to bully people. You know, we're doing, like I said, restorative justice things. Let's sit down and talk about the issues and find out why you're bullying and try to get you that help. So, like I said, I don't deal with a lot of bullying, but the district is very progressive and is well ahead of trying to tackle that subject here at OUSD.
Thanks, Chief. Just a few more questions. I'd like to introduce Lee.
Hey, Lee.
Hey, Chief. So my name is Lee Simmons. I go to Castlemont High School, and I'm a junior, and I represent Youth Alive. Interestingly enough, restorative justice programs involve youth taking responsibility for their actions and don't focus on punishment alone. What types of restorative justice programs are there in high schools, and will more be implemented? And do you think they will work?
Sure. Great question, Lee. Like I said, I'm new to the district as being chief of police. I came last September to the district. Within 3 months of me coming to the district, I believe in restorative justice. So I had all my officers trained in restorative justice in December. When you guys were off for your Christmas break, I had the officers in restorative justice training. Days, there's professional development where your teachers go and do different trainings or different workshops and you guys are off school. I also did restorative justice for some of the school security officers. I wasn't able to do all of them, but I'm kind of have them on a schedule, you know, where I want to get all of them done. So I believe in restorative justice. In fact, the district here, we actually have someone whose sole job is implementing restorative justice programs. And his name is David Usum, if you've never met him. But he has restorative justice programs going at, I believe it's at 6 different high schools. So we already have restorative justice in effect at the schools. I have the officers trained in participating in restorative justice, and I have some of the SSOs trained so they could participate in that. And your question about more being implemented, you know, I hope so. There's a thing we're going through here in the district right now, which is the voluntary resolution that we're dealing with the federal government, and part of that is bringing more restorative justice programs to schools. So I've talked to David. He's excited about doing it. David's also providing training for the Oakland for the Oakland police officers who are assigned to schools. David's going to also do restorative justice for them too. So I'm a big advocate of restorative justice, and I know the people here in Oakland too that are also part of that program. So I think it works.
One more question, Chief
Sure.
Williams.
Hi, Chief Williams. My name is Kamari Quinones. I go to Bishop O'Dowd High School. I'm in the 9th grade, and I'm with Oakland Youth Commission. My question is, this is the big picture question. In your vision to keep students safe at school, what is the key? And how can we as youth be a part of your plan?
Sure. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Oakland schools are actually some of the safest places to be in Oakland. It's being at school. And so I think the way we can make things safer is, so my mission and my whole goal in my department is to make sure you guys have a safe environment to get an education at school. So how do I do that? You know, I think a big thing is just relationships. Relationships that my officers have with students, that they have with staff. I want them to have a relationship where if you know something's wrong that day at school, or you've heard that there's going to be a fight, or you know someone's carrying a weapon, that you can go to the officer, or you could go to an administrator or a teacher and tell them that. You know, that's relationships. I talked about one of the major problems we have at middle schools and high schools are fights. Well, if there was relationships and better communication and better conflict resolution amongst the students themselves, maybe we could prevent a lot of those fights. You know, students could talk things out rather than want to fight them out. So I'm big on building relationships. I think when you're talking about a school setting and not the entire city. But when we're just talking about school, I think relationships are key, to stopping things from happening at school. And how do I think you guys can help? You guys are a voice. You guys are a huge voice. I welcome that voice. If you see things going on at school, tell somebody. Tell administrator. You could leave anonymous notes. You could call my department anonymously. This last year, another thing I did was I worked with the Black Organizing Project on coming up with a complaint process for things that are going on at the school that involve the school security officers and the police officers. If there's something where you feel an officer did something wrong, be it a police officer or a school security officer, you have a venue to use your voice to make a complaint about that. If you think there's a policy or procedure that in my department is wrong, or you could provide some input into it, something we may not have thought of, you have that venue. And then on the other side of the coin, you can also that same venue you can use if you think someone is doing something right. If you think an officer did an incredible job, or an SSO did an incredible job handling a situation, you could use that same venue to compliment them and let me know about it. So, I think the biggest thing, like I said, is you have your voice. You're there every day. You see the things happening, and you guys have suggestions. You guys have ideas that we want to hear.
Chief Williams, do you have any questions for us or some closing thoughts?
Oh man, yeah, a lot of questions. Now, I think that the biggest question is, like I said, you guys are there every day. You're at school every day. So I'd like to hear from you what you think we can do as adults, as the police staff, to make the school safer.
So I guess my question is, you keep saying we, and I want to know your definition of we. Like, when have you personally gone to the school and dealt with the situation, as well as if you haven't, what change are you gonna make to get more involved for us to see you more at our schools?
Sure. So, I go to schools. I wouldn't say every day, but I go to schools and deal with situations at least 2 to 3 times a week. In fact, I was at Skyline last night for the basketball game. I don't know if you were there, you saw me, but I was just there, talking to kids, talking to parents, to athletes. So I was at Skyline last night, and that's on my own time. I'm not getting paid to be there, but I'm there at the school. And my definition of we is all of us. Like I said, not only am I the police chief, and not only am I a resident here in Oakland, but I'm also a parent. So I'm very involved in the school. I go to PTA meetings. I talk to parents. At Fremont, I was working with the parents there on improving some of the security issues at the school, and I listened to the things they had to say, and I went and implemented the things I told them I would. Having extra officers after school on overtime. I did that out of my budget. Making sure the camera system worked. The whole summer we spent making sure the cameras are upgraded. So my definition of we is all of us, because we all live in this community and we all bear the fruits as well as the responsibilities to make sure things are safe.
So I heard you speak on the parents. What are you going to do to outreach to the students? Because I feel that your position, and you're saying that your job is the students and how we feel. So not just reaching out to, our guardians, our parents, but having that personal connection with us, the students.
Sure. And I go to the parents because, they're the guardians. They're responsible for you, and they, frankly, they've had the biggest voice. When there's an issue, I always hear from the parents. I don't hear from the students. So that's one of the things I was talking about earlier was creating those kind of safety groups at schools where myself or other police officers could come and talk about the issues. So if you want to form one of those groups at your school, we'd be more than willing to help out. And I've never turned down an invitation, so I go to schools and talk. So, I'm committed to going and talking to kids more. Last year, I helped out at Life Academy. They had a cleanup for Martin Luther King Day, and it was with the students. So I went out with the students, planted a tree. So I've tried to do those things when I can, but I could do more.
All right. So when I was in high school, I actually wasn't Oakland high schooler, but I don't know if their policies out here different between the police that's on campus. But long story short, when I was in high school, I was visiting my high school that I was originally at before I transferred. And what happened was a police officer had approached me and he grabbed my wrist out of nowhere. So out of reaction, I pulled back. And mind you, it was raining that day, so I was soaking wet. And basically, he was quick to draw his taser on me and was ready to fire at me while I was soaking wet. And I was kind of thrown off and confused. And basically, the moral is, after like I gave up and I told him like, all right, and he handcuffed me, it kind of set back a lot of memories because I'm diagnosed with PTSD. So it kind of like set me off. So I was getting angrier and angrier. So what is the police doing on campus to like understand people that have mental disabilities? Because I feel a lot of people don't never talk about how a lot of things happen because people are diagnosed with PTSD, ADHD, and other disabilities, and they don't understand that or respect that.
Sure. So there's additional training that officers go through in dealing with people with disabilities, and so they receive that additional training. Your particular situation, I don't know all the facts. I'd never talked to the officer. I don't know what he was thinking at the time. I don't know the totality of the circumstances. I'm sorry that you felt that way and you went through that experience, but like I said, officers do receive additional training. In my department, every morning at 7:30, we have a meeting to talk about the day's events and to talk about the events that happened at the previous day. And so we talk about stops we made, and we talk about situations, and everyone is able to give their perspective if they would have did something different, if they would have did the same thing. I hear it also, and I also interject and say, I think you did something right, or I think you did something wrong. So there needs to be more training, but officers do receive training in dealing with people with disabilities.
Okay, so I heard that you guys were trying to give the security guards like armed weapons. Like, how is that supposed to make us more safe? Y'all giving them armed weapons, like that's just gonna make things more worse. So.
So I don't know where you heard that, but we're not doing that here at Oakland Unified School District. I'm not giving any of the security guards weapons or armed guns or firearms. So I don't know where that came from, but that's a rumor that's not true.
I'm sorry. A follow-up question. You said when Lynn Christina was asking you, you said you hear a lot from the parents and not the students. What have you done to hear from the students? Because a personal experience, youth aren't really too fond of you guys, and parents aren't either, but they're more fond of you guys than students are. So I feel that to hear from the youth, you have to reach out to them more. So what have you done to do that, or what will you do?
So like I said, some of the things we do is the Camp Trust. We do the whole summer camp. It's all summer long with kids. And so that's one thing we do to try and build that trust and to work with kids. Like I said last night, I was at the basketball game. I'm there, interacting with people. If people want to come and talk to me, I'm available. I'm there. At times I go around to different campuses. I walk around the campuses. I'm approachable. And that's why I think that's why another reason why I'm here is to get out more, is more of that outreach to hear your guys' voice. And that's why I've encouraged you to also participate.
Does all your officers participate in Camp Trust?
Yes.
Time goes by quickly and we have to stop. Chief Williams, thank you for listening to us. We hope this frank conversation with you will continue at school and here on Youth Focus.
Sure. Can I say one other thing? I'm here today, and I'm someone that has a position in the city, but I'm going to be gone 10 years from now. 10 to 15 years from now, I'm going to be retired, and someone behind me is going to come up, and then someone behind them is going to need to come up. I think you guys being here and being part of this organization and this process, you guys are leaders. You guys are taking a stance as youth. I never did this. I was always one of the kids that was kind of in the background, but you guys are stepping forward. You guys are the leaders of tomorrow, especially here in Oakland. You guys are rooted here. You guys know the issues. You guys know what's going on. And when I'm 60 or 70, I hope I see you guys on city council. I hope one of you guys is the mayor. I hope someone here is the police chief, because this role you guys are playing, I don't know if you guys understand, but you guys are stepping up as leaders already in the community. And you know, that's to be applauded, and I hope you continue it. I hope you continue your education, and I hope I see you in one of those roles, because like I said, within 10 years, I'm no longer going to be here, and it's going to be you guys that are coming behind us. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you to our panelists from the high schools and the organizations throughout Oakland. And a final thanks to you for watching us here on Youth Focus here on KDOL. We welcome your feedbacks and suggestions. Just as we want people to listen to us, we will listen to you. See you again soon.